pass out this sign-in sheet if you would. Sign in for me.
Closer.
I would appreciate it.
Should we move closer? Should we
Yeah,
all move
yeah,
closer
please.
together?
Definitely. I don't bite, only on Thursdays.
I was just
And I
backing
got super hungry, and you're lucky this morning, I'm pretty good. Come on up. We're a small crowd anyway. I'm also going to give you the session evaluation before I forget. Please, 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 take this out and just leave it on the table. You don't even have to give it to me. You don't have to put your name on it if you want to, but we like to hear from you. And I will tell you, I was on the FAM Foundation Board, and the Foundation Board is the one that is responsible for putting on the conference and picking the sessions from the conference. And I will tell you, the first thing that we did as a group, the Foundation Board, was to sit and get a report and read through all of the evaluations from the prior year's conference. It's a lot of work, but that's how much we mean it when we say we want to hear from you and we want to tailor it to what you need. So please be honest. Tell us what you like, don't like, what you think could be better, and then leave it for us. All right, this is us. For those of you who don't know, my name is Sam Joseph. I am not currently with a specific museum. I do have a couple museums that are clients right now. I'm an independent consultant. My work that I do is mostly around museums, but actually it's morphed into nonprofits because, kind of like we were talking about during the advocacy session, museums don't have a lot of money to bring outsiders in to help. So, frankly, it's other nonprofits that have the resources right now, social services, neighborhood associations that can do that. So that's the other reason why we got to change that paradigm, because I need work. And I like working with you guys more than I do all the other folks. I will go into this a little bit more, but I told you during that session I'm a museum junkie. I don't work in it, but you see I still come back to it and still talk to you and still visit them. My daughter had a favorite museum by the time she was 1.5 years. And she could tell you verbally what that favorite museum was in the community. So that tells you how much museums are in my blood and in my family's blood. My wife worked at museums. It's what we do. We're believers. We drank the Kool-Aid and we believe. Today I want to talk to you about an important topic, digitization. We talked about it a little bit in other sessions. But it's becoming more and more an issue that all museums have to deal with because of the outside pressures we're feeling. Number one, we're in a technological age. Everybody's got a little gadget in their hands. It is the access to the world for them. I'm one of those people too. You carry them around and we do everything on them. And we're starting now to take even the things that used to be what we think traditional things that you need to be in person there to do, and we're making them virtual. And we're not really stopping to think about, is that right? Does it really work the way it should? And who are we when we do that? Remember, as museums, and we're going to talk about this, where we came from, we're about things. That's really where we start. Almost every museum is about something, a physical thing. And so, if we go virtual, and people can't see those things live, can't touch those things, do they learn as much from them as they used to in the past? And then, on a practical level, we got to keep buildings open. We got to store this stuff. And we have to have people pay admission to make sure that we keep doing that. If they're all virtual, do our buildings even matter anymore? Do our institutions even matter anymore? Big questions. I'm going to talk to you today about what I know about digitization, some people who are doing some really neat things that I think actually have a lot of value and will help us bridge this little digital divide we're going through. But really, this is a session where you're going to tell me what you know, what you think, what you feel, and then at the end, you're even going to craft your own digitization plan for yourself and for your institution that you could take back and say, hey, let's not, put our head under the sands. This is coming, and it's coming quickly. Let's do something about it and make sure that we're deliberate. Before we start all of that, I do want to do two quick things. One is I do want to take another moment of silence. I was actually in Daytona, driving in when the first tower got hit. I have family in New York. So literally, as I'm driving in the car, I remember saying to my colleague, Marie, oh my God, I got to make phone calls. Because I don't know if any of them work in the World Trade Center, but I need to find out. And I remember being on the cell phone, not being able to get anywhere, just feeling panicked. And getting to the hotel, and the first thing Melinda said was, I don't know, I think we might have to everybody have to go back home. This is it's too overwhelming. And all of a sudden, and I think it was a general consensus is, no, we need to be around family right now. And not family back at home, we need to be around each other right now. And we did. We took care of each other that day. We saw each other in the hallways. You didn't have to say anything, but we were family. The next day I had a session, the smallest session I've ever had. There were 3 people in there. The best session I've ever done to date. Because we just sat and we talked. We talked about what I wanted to talk about. We talked about what they wanted to talk about, and we just commiserated with one another. That's why I love this. Because like Mr. Whitehall, in my mind, I made a decision that day. These people are my family. They're just as important to me as my wife at the time that was back home, and the people I was trying to get on the phone in New York. So you are. You're family to me. Let's take a moment to remember the people we lost. Thank you. Now, every once in a while people say, oh, wow, you have such a fun job. You get to laugh every single day, play with kids. How bad could it be? And really, it's not that bad. But days like September 11th, you remember that it's serious work. You do serious work. Because there were folks in museums who were having to explain to visitors and to children this whole episode, make them feel comfortable back at our institutions, back at our new town square. So it's interesting work. All right, so let's get started. You guys saw the statement that for the session. 95% of what I think makes museums special and makes us cool, people never ever get to see. And the example that I give is when I started working at the Historical Museum of Southern Florida, I was invited first week into the job down to the curatorial area. You had to be invited, it's locked and only permission. And I got invited to go down with some other education staff, and as the curator was giving us a tour, he pulled out a drawer. And in it was a Ku Klux Klan outfit. It's like, oh, and this is our Klan outfit, and it shut the drawer, was moving on to the next thing. Ho, 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 ho. Wait a minute. Not that I'd never seen a Klan outfit before in my life. I had. But that one, tell me about that one, and why is it in a drawer, and why is it not out? So he told us, he thought we knew the story. You guys don't know the story? No. The story is when you were hired by Miami-Dade County, up until 1967, I believe it was. First of all, you were going to be white. You were going to be Caucasian. You were not going to be a minority. Second, when you got to your desk that day, you would find an outfit and a card for where the meetings would be. It is assumed that you will be there. That's it. Nobody came and said, hey, join me, or no, it's there. We'll see you that day. Now, remember, this is a job. You don't go to that meeting, that sends a message. What's your problem? You can't keep this job. To go a bit further, that outfit that we had, we got from a gentleman who got hired by the county who was Jewish, but he didn't have a Jewish surname. He didn't look Jewish. So he got hired. And this was on his desk. He had a decision to make. What do? I got to feed my family. He worked for the county for over 10 years. This in his house. Every excuse for why he couldn't make meetings and blah, blah, blah. 10 years. Can you imagine every single day of your life going into a place and having to live a whole different life? And then what he did was he said, you guys take it. Tell that story. Make sure people know. That artifact has never been on exhibit in the museum. It's not, and I can't blame the museum because we have thousands and thousands and thousands of artifacts. And every single one of them have a backstory like that one. Might be just as touching, just as appropriate. But that was a story that could have been lost. I could have gone, and I remember raising my hand and saying, I studied in school, I'm a pretty smart guy, I know local history, I know regional history, I know world history. How come I never knew that? How come I never knew that story? There's a reason, but that's that when sometimes we forget how important our jobs are. We're the keeper of things and stories. We're the keeper of knowledge. There's a major responsibility that comes with that. Because that was important for me to see. I told you 2 days ago that I had never stepped foot in that museum before the day I got hired. Had they put that on exhibit, I guarantee you that I would have been there, my family would have been there, all of us would have been there to say, wow, yeah, that's what it's like. And you've come a long way, haven't we? Now you don't have to go to your desk and worry about seeing an outfit or attending meetings you don't want to attend anymore. But it's important. We're storytellers. And I'm worried that with digitization, again, we can bring them that stuff. Now, that doesn't have to just sit in a drawer until one day where there's an impromptu tour. Because hopefully with digitization, what we can do is unlock those things that are locked all the way in the back that we don't get to see all the time, and really bring the rest of the stories to the people. I think that's the positive side of digitization. That's where we're going to be at our best. We can bring the 95% out. Because people don't know. Yes, assume whatever we have out is what we've got. No. We've got so much more. So many more stories. So, you know I have ground rules. For everything that I do, I have ground rules because I just don't want to upset people. And, you know, sometimes I say what I mean. What I feel, and you might not like it. And that's okay. Challenge me if you don't. Assume no personal intent. I do know some of you, but I don't know all of you. And I certainly don't know you personally, and so I wouldn't attack you until I get to know you personally. Everyone is heard, and all input is valued. Look, if you don't want to speak, don't say a word. I'm going to be fine with that, but you're smart people. And part of what these conferences is about is learning from each other. It's not just the person who's standing up here to put themselves on the line, but also what you have in your head that you can share. Difficult conversations and/or issues that are brought up in here stay in here. And they can. I'll tell you that the Historical Museum of Southern Florida is probably not very happy about me talking about the fact that they've never put this Klan outfit out. And again, I don't blame the museum for that in itself. But that is a problem when some stories don't get told. Especially today, when we're dealing with some of the same issues societally that we were back then. So it's important, again, that those stories come out. Treat each other. This is the preacher's kid in me. You know, do unto. If it was good for JC, it's good enough for me. All you need to know about this is I've done a lot of work in a lot of places. And the big key is there's almost no discipline of museum that I haven't worked in or worked with, except for zoos and aquaria, which I have something to get, but that's a whole other issue. But I understand your pain. I know where you're coming from. I know also when it's very difficult for you to do a lot of these things, and so I get it. And especially digitization. For smaller museums, it's like why am I here? because I can't afford this. I don't have the people, I don't have the money for hardware or software. What are we talking about? But there are some easy things out there that you can use that will help you. I talk about, the reason I'm going to go back into this, the history of museums, is because it's important, again, for us to understand who we are, where we come from. This, to me, is the first exhibit. It's a little example of Lecoq, the cave painting drawing. We've been communicating and exhibiting to one another since the day we decided not to live alone. We've been trying to figure out, how do I connect with you? We've done it in different ways throughout time, but that's who we are. And even now in the digital age, we're craving more and more information. More and more we want to learn. And part of it is because in a democratic society, unfortunately, you have access to a lot of information, but you don't know whether it's good or bad until you go through it and compare it with one another. And that can be tough, especially if you don't have a whole lot of time on your hands. So folks are craving it. This was a letter that came into the editor about the fact that, again, History of Miami, my own museum, has over 1 million photographs. Over 1 million photographs in its research center. And as this guy was saying, he's not a researcher, he just wants access to them. Because they're cool old pictures of South Beach, Carl Fisher, and the elephants dredging out to make South Beach. You've got Henry Flagler's railroad, the overseas railroad that was blown out during the hurricane. We have all those photos in those collections. And yes, you could go into the research center the old way and visit Dawn and look through the folder, white glove, pick out your photo, and then get it eventually reproduced for you. But we live in a day and age where you and I like to get on this phone and think, oh, you know what, I'd love to get that Carl Fisher picture, and just do it. And his whole point is, I can't. What's up with them? Why aren't they there yet? They're not up with me yet. This is another one. And actually, this is a local Arbor Parks, our local historian, who was saying we need to preserve the collection. You know, as curators, that a lot of this stuff is deteriorating. It's going away. So if we don't document it, if we don't digitize it right now, it will be lost forever. That costs money. And she's saying we need to devote the resources that it takes to save this stuff. This is our history. It's critical. So, how do we do it? And how are people doing it? What I did was kind of looked at what's out there right now. You know there's distance learning. There are a lot of folks right now already doing virtual field trips. With some levels of success and others that are truly perfunctory. Frankly, the quality level that I've seen, I wouldn't do it if it was me, if I was the education director. But they do, and I understand getting out to the audience. Professional development. This is an area that is growing. Particularly those of you who work with schools. You think kids can't get out for field trips. Teachers cannot get out for professional development anymore. That's how tight the school year and day is. So literally, and we did this at the Haitian Heritage Museum of Miami, we offered 2 professional development workshops that were virtual. We did them on Skype, actually, where folks could dial in from wherever they were. Very successful. Got an opportunity to really get in front of some eyes we never would have been able to. The only drag is, again, things. When you have things don't translate on video, and you don't get that aha moment. Like when they step into your building and it's like, oh, and you're like, yeah, that's it. That's what we do. I got you. Virtual museums. I'm not a big fan of these. I haven't seen a good one yet. Virtual museums and virtual exhibits. I'm sorry, I haven't. Help me out. If you know of any, give them to me because I want to put them in my portfolio so that I can show folks. But it's happening. More and more people are doing it. You don't have to pay for brick and mortar. You don't have to have storage space other than the cloud. But you don't have any things. Cultural apps. These are cool. And I'm going to show you 2 of them today. The Smithsonian Institution Skin and Bones one is outstanding. But they're always on the cutting edge, right? It's the Smithsonian. But eventually that technology will get down to us. I'm going to show you something called the Brain Scoop, which is a YouTube series that's done by a museum professional where she goes behind the scenes at museums. That's her whole thing, is going into collections departments, talking to different people in different departments to unlock this mystery of what is a museum. And I think it's a really great program. Of course, Smithsonian, they are doing, you know now, they're on TV, they have the web, their cable channel. They're really doing everything they can to expose the rest of their collections. Khan Academy, which is actually a great educational site, but they've started partnering a lot with museums, and I'll show you a couple of the things they're doing. And PBS Learning, that's my favorite one. It's outstanding because of the content and materials that they have, and teachers, it plugs into teachers, classroom teachers right away. They know it, they love it, and they can get their CTE credits from it, so trust me, it's one thing that you'll probably want to get yourself into. So, let's start with PBS Learning. PBS Learning, and PBS has gotten, in for a penny, in for a pound, into the professional development game. And they really do have a lot of resources, a lot of lesson plans, curriculum, and then put on top of it that they have all these popular characters that all the children and all the teachers know. It's a no-brainer. The stuff is really good. Most of it is tied to standards locally. If you work with your local PBS station, it's tied to your standards locally, so you don't even have to do that work. And the thing I love about the PBS folks is, like us, they love to partner. They want to partner with folks and get into the community. So my suggestion to you would be to call your local station and say, hey, ask for the education director. They all have an education manager or director, and tell them, look, we want to get into this game of professional development, and particularly the virtual professional development, and they will. They'll help you get started and with the infrastructure and give you access to their wonderful materials. I got to show you Skin and Bones because I think it's so cool. Skin and Bones is a new virtual, and it's out actually on an iPad, that you take around the Museum of Natural History. And in the gallery, when you go to certain areas of the gallery where you see bones, you put the iPad in front of the bones and it scans it, and then it gives you a reproduction of what that creature looked like in real life. It puts the skin over the bones of that creature, and then it gives you more interpretive material. It's awesome. It's so cool. I mean, I wish I was a kid again so you could just run, because this would be the thing that you would do every time, all the time. They're actually...
Hello, I'm Deanna Michaels.
And I am Robert Costello.
We're at the Bone Hall of the Smithsonian's Natural History Museum. It's an exhibit with history.
Talk about skeletons in the closet. This exhibit has some of the oldest displays at the Smithsonian, some dating back to the opening of the U.S. National Museum in 1881. Look at the color palette and the fonts in this exhibit, and you might guess at the age of this installation, which comes from the 1960s. You might also envision that our visitors are not as excited about this exhibit as we are.
So we produced a mobile app. It's called Skin and Bones. You could say that it tries to reskin the visitor experience, preserving the physical space just as it is.
Skin and Bones is loaded with great content. 32 videos, 10 augmented reality pieces, and 4 games. By bringing these skeletons to life, their unique stories are unlocked and shared in 3D with strong visual and audio effects.
It all sounds so easy, but producing Skin and Bones was technically challenging. Developing the software, creating the videos, creating the augmented reality. But fortunately, we worked with a genius team of media professionals, and we used some of the latest imaging technology.
Few people would know that this museum has the largest collection of 3D digitized objects of any museum in the world. And we use the same technologies that built that collection in the making of Skin and Bones, including a CT scanner, a micro CT scanner, a laser scanner, optical scanner, photogrammetry, and a few other technologies.
Now that Skin and Bones is out and available to the visitors, we are conducting an in-depth study that tries to understand how the app is being used and how augmented reality can change their experiences. As our sample is approaching 300 individuals, we're finding interesting results that promise to be useful in guiding other professionals who are working with augmented reality.
We want to share all of this at South by Southwest, and we hope to see you.
South by Southwest is a technology conference that usually happens out in California. But they're developing this for eventually for dissemination down to all of us. Now, a lot of the technical stuff, augmented reality, and I saw the heads go, I don't even understand that. I don't either. What I know is it's cool. It has that extreme cool factor that is what we're about. Like I said, when they walk in our doors, the eyes get big and the gap. This does that, and I love that about it. The other thing I wanted to show you was Brainscoop, which again is a simple series. It's a YouTube series, but I think it's a great way of giving visitors access to those restricted area places that we have around our buildings.
This episode of The Brain Scoop is brought to you by an obscenely generous contribution from Heather Shue.
The Chicago Field Museum is one of the largest and most respected natural history museums in the world. Join me as we go behind the scenes. Dun dun dun.
We live our lives in this building.
Yeah.
It's like a passion.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Not 9 to 5.
Yeah. No, not at all. It's you work and live and breathe natural history in these kind of places.
Exactly. So what I thought we could do is just take a walk through the preparation process and follow the path of a specimen from cleaning to cataloging, and then we can go into collection and really blow.
That'd be great. I mean, because we've talked about a couple of these things on the Brain Scoop, but it's on such a smaller level. I mean, I do everything in 1 or 2 rooms. You know, we get the thing and it goes in the freezer, and I prep it in the same room, the Beatles, and then I catalog it, and it all happens in one place. But this is literally football fields worth of space of collections. I have heard legendary things about your domestic colony. It smells wonderful. It smells like our lab on crack. It just smells so, oh my gosh.
And look at all of it, it changes.
Oh, is that a squirrel?
It is a squirrel.
Oh, lovely.
That's a gorilla hand.
I was gonna say, it looks like you have a human in here.
You can see the different sized larvae.
Yeah.
And that makes it really good so they can get into like the little spaces and the big spaces. And the big black guys are the adults.
They're so gross. I love this place. I love you guys.
So do we.
I mean, yeah, they do some.
I love it. She loves this. You can tell she loves what she does. She's passionate about it. I love Brainscoop. And again, that one's something that even a small museum, all you need is actually your phone. You can probably get video on your phone and then download it to YouTube. And she has different episodes at different places. Simple concept, but again, connecting people to places and things in our institutions they never get to see. And then Khan Academy. Khan Academy is really, really a great site for learning anything and almost anything you want for free. The reason I got into Khan Academy was because they started these relationships with nonprofits and specifically museums, where now museums are building pages. This is the Exploratorium page, where they upload lesson plans, video, backroom videos, but really mostly things tied to curriculum, particularly K through 12 education. So again, it offers you, if you don't have the technical ability to put together all this stuff, they actually have a platform where they build the page for you. You just provide them the information, and they will set it up for you. They're a good group, like I said. Their whole pledge is that their information and their site will be free forever. And they go out and find the funding to do it. And it has become extremely popular. I know Bank of America is a major sponsor. The founder of Khan has been by the White House quite a few times, talked with Arne Duncan. I mean, they've really bought in to Khan Academy and its potential for the future. So it's another area where maybe you can get a little visibility and do the digitization stuff, but not have to be taxed financially in order to do it. So those are the ones that are cool, that I like, that I know of. But I would certainly love to hear from you about what you know that's going on out there that's of value, that people need to know about. There we go. So I want to do a little brainstorming session, and I want you guys to talk amongst each other around what can you do? First, two things I want you to talk about. One is digitization really for you and for your institution? And be honest about it, because you know the size of your museum, you know what its future plans are, and where it's going, and you know yourself and where you're going. Is this something that's in your path? And then the second thing is, as you think about it, and I think yes is going to have to be the answer, because that's what society is pushing you to do. You almost have no choice, or else you get a lot out of the mix. Then how do you do it in a way that works for both you and your institution, that is not going to, one, be schlocky and not to the quality level that you expect, but also be true to your mission and your soul and your passion of getting stories out there. Then what I want to do is come back and get some of those ideas thrown out there, and let's write them all down, and take all of those things, what I gave you and everything that we talked about, and go back and create your plan, because really this is it. This is where we're going. And one way or another, we have to figure it out. And the good thing about us is I think we're really, really thoughtful as a group, and we're always trying to find the best way. In terms of ground rules, everybody has an opportunity to be heard, all input. I would suggest that you pick a facilitator, somebody who help move the conversation along and get more ideas going, and then a note taker, so that when you need to report, you'll know what you're going to be saying. There are no bad ideas. I guess the only bad idea is not having one. That would be the bad idea. But there are no bad ideas, because frankly, we're not spending anything right now, we're not making anything happen right now, we're just dreaming. So dream, and dream big. Ideas are not proprietary in a brainstorming session. So no, you cannot trademark it when you say it here. It will become part of everybody's repertoire. And please be prepared to present your ideas, because you hate to be the one that somebody points at you and you're like, I don't remember. Because I have to see my daughter all the time, but she's 6. I expect that from her. Get together, guys. You know each other. Figure out your groups. But talk about this. Tell me what you know. Tell me what you think. And then let's talk about it. I'm going to give you guys... You want us to be out of here?
I can tell you.
It's wonderful. She will. And actually, guys, ladies and gentlemen, just before you get heavy into your play, we do have, I want you to know, we have a civilian in the room. We have a civilian, a constituent in the room, my sister-in-law, Deirdre Brown, who is a retired executive from TICO and has served on boards currently, and also has been a consultant to nonprofits on, sustainability, hiring, whatever. She's very knowledgeable, but she also would be a good person to try out ideas on. Because one of the things I was going to ask her is, are these things cool? Was Brain Scoop cool? Is this the kind of stuff, because she's a museum goer too, that you would be into? So please feel free to ask the civilian. And Any questions? Get her thoughts? He just doesn't want you to be like on the hook 4 times. I can't say you.
It's like the three of us did a session 2 days ago about this topic, so we're not the good people to be paired together.
But actually, see, this is why we have to have civilians in the room. She says to me, do they all know what digitization means? Is that a common term in our industry? And I assume so. Everybody knows what digitization is, right? Okay, all right, yeah, it is. But
I mean, my only question is, the same showed us, I think they're not digitization.
Well,
In my opinion.
virtual reality.
Digitization, in my opinion, goes back to the collection of the core. It's all
Okay.
about,
actually, that's a
Right,
great
but see, I think
Yeah.
that's a shelf. Right, we have shelves. Actually, we can't
I did
do
it.
this. There we stand. But we are, on equipment, we have 2 assistants in our collection department that are entering data for each shelf. Where it's collected, when it's collected, beside where they go on. But it's just, we're around so many things. And they are at 80,000 lots. There's about 100 shelves in a lot. Our collection is close to 1 million shelves. It's not even on the website. And the worst of it, you walk by the front desk and everything, like, what's upstairs? And you go to the front desk, oh, this is.
I have seen your collection behind the scenes, so I've been there. I know how much
And we
it
even
costs.
built an exhibit in our exhibit hall called What's Upstairs? And it's a collection of things, you know, have a parcel in the shelves. We also have a library. That's where we're at right now. Digitizing our library. It's only open to